Welcome to another episode of the Jampack Report today for February the 9th of 2021. And boy, do we have a show for you here today because Monday was a very busy day in the gaming industry with news ranging from E3 2021 all the way to the future of Anthem. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just dive right into it with a VGC report that E3 is going digital in 2021. Games publishers have received a pitch for E3 2021 that has been obtained by Video Games Chronicle, disclosing plans for, quote, 3 days of live-streamed coverage held between June 15th and June 17th. These days include multiple 2-hour keynote sessions from partners, an award show, June 14th pre-game preview night, smaller streams from publishers, influencers, and media partners, and additional coverage the week before leading up to the digital event itself. VGC writes that an example schedule has been sent to publishers and it looks similar to a typical show day of past E3 events. It kicks off with a 30-minute pre-show run by a media partner, followed by a 2-hour exclusive press conference by a console platform holder, followed by a Q&A and panel reaction. The rest of the day would be comprised of third-party publisher presentations of differing length, with the day concluding with a wrap-up and teaser for the following day. ESA's notes also mention a charitable after-party stream as well. One company accidentally disclosed that they would rather run their own event independently rather than pay the 6-figure price that the ESA is charging to be included in E3. Now, E3 addressed this news via social media, and they said, quote, "Monday's off to an exciting start, huh? We've been hard at work on this year's event, and we can't wait to provide the full picture of E3 2021 experience. Keep an eye here for more big news from us soon. Until then, we'll be back under the box," and of course, they have a Metal Gear Solid GIF here to seem relatable and fun. But ultimately, it looks like E3 2021 is in fact on, and there is some kind of digital event that is going to be taking place. Now, it's worth noting Geoff Keighley is still going to be hosting his Summer Game Fest. That is the big event that kind of took the place of E3 last year, and it essentially took what is normally one very, very intense week of news and stretched it out across the entire course of a season. And I'm not talking about like a season of Fortnite that lasts for a couple of weeks. I'm talking about a season of the year. That was an intense chunk of time, and it seemed like the majority of the gaming population felt like the Summer Games Fest was watered down, and it was not quite as poignant as what you would normally get with an E3 event. Now, the return of E3 is something that a lot of people have been positive about online, but I will say that I back the tweet that I shared earlier in the day, that E3 is archaic and it needs to evolve and it needs to change. The Summer Game Fest was cool, but it was too stretched out. It was not condensed enough. There never was a definitive, amazing announcement that came from that entire season. Of course, we were leading up to the launch of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, so there were plenty of big announcements, but there was never that pinnacle peak E3 hype that I got from all of those years in the past. So it's very important that we come to some kind of unified time in the gaming industry when publishers and developers can come and showcase what they have coming in the year ahead, but one that is modern and one that does afford new ways to interact with these new experiences and showcase what they do bring to the table, but that isn't stretched out over the course of a few months because that was very, very tedious in my opinion. But I'm excited to see what E3 does bring to the table. I will say this 6-figure cost that seems to be thrown around has not been confirmed, but if that is in fact the case, that makes getting any kind of news about an indie out there very, very difficult. Now, The Escapist does have an indie showcase. I know Kinda Funny also has an indie showcase, so there are plenty of creators out there that are bringing light to these smaller experiences, but it would be nice for a larger name to come into the picture and to really make these indies shine and to really give them the true limelight. So I wish that the cost of getting involved was a bit lower if that is in fact the actual legitimate cost, but E3 is going ahead according to this new report from VGC. A very exciting time for those that do look forward to the future of the gaming industry, like I do myself, because I do love E3 and I want it to be great, so hopefully they have decided on a few new changes that can make it the show that it's meant to be. However, on top of that news, a new report has come out of Bloomberg that shares that the future of Anthem is going to be decided later this week. Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reports that EA executives are meeting later in the week to see the latest version of Anthem Next and decide if the project is worth continuing or if they'll cut their losses with one of 2019's biggest blunders. The revamp was announced in 2020 and is known as Anthem Next. It includes a revamp of the core mechanics of the game, it improves the user experience, and it creates new content for the future. But for all of this to come into being, the team of roughly 30 as it currently stands is going to have to potentially triple in size, which is a sizable investment considering the reception of Anthem itself and the general I would say negative take on the entire name. It's just not a good look for Anthem as it stands right now. Now, Jason Schreier does go into much more depth over on the Bloomberg article if you do want to dive into it, but the big question here is, will EA actually save Anthem? And this report comes from 3 people familiar with the situation, and so with 3 different stories being corroborated by Jason Schreier, one of the industry's leading reporters, you can't help but think that something is going to move this week. What is going to happen is still up in the air. Now, if I had to give my 2 cents on this entire situation, I will say I don't think that Anthem is going to be continuing. I want to think that the time that has been spent developing the game and the fixes that the team has been trying to implement will shine and will prove that there is something cool to be had here. There is something neat and unique within the world of Anthem. But from the very beginning, from stories told by developers themselves, this has been a game that has been cobbled together and was developed specifically for the purpose of generating revenue for Electronic Arts. There was never any true drive behind the game. It was just something that was designed to be a looter shooter. It was designed to be a Destiny competitor. It was designed to get players in. There was never any true lore behind it. There was never any true soul behind Anthem. The environments are gorgeous, the character design phenomenal, the game itself looks very beautiful, but there is a lot of work that was left to be done and it ultimately left a lot to be desired. So I do hope that Anthem does end up being one of those No Man's Sky stories where I look back in 2 years and I was completely and totally wrong. Every game that comes out, I want millions of people to find joy in it. That's the whole point of making games in the first place. But as it stands right now, I just don't have faith that Anthem is really going to be able to turn it around. I would not be surprised if later in the week, I'm back on this show right here reporting that Anthem has been canceled. That wouldn't shock me in the slightest. So we will wait and stay tuned to see what is going to be coming from the team at Electronic Arts. Certainly a lot to dive into here, and on top of that, there's going to be more Halo to dive into as well, according to a new job listing that was posted in February, just a couple of days ago. This news comes from a producer job posting listed in February, on February 9th specifically. What is today? Wait, hold on. February 6th. I misread. I had the number upside down. I was like, wait, that day hasn't happened yet. Rumors on Twitter last year that have since been deleted suggested that Halo Wars 3 and a Halo spin-off game following Fireteam Osiris from Halo 5 was potentially in the works. The big question here, what exactly is the experience going to be? And in my opinion, it's probably going to be Halo 3. I would love to see them do something similar to Halo Reach, where it is a new story told from a different perspective, but right now Halo is beginning its redemption arc. Through the Master Chief Collection, 343 has established that Master Chief mindshare yet again. They have reconnected with the roots of the Halo franchise in a big way, and going into Halo Infinite, that is incredibly important because they are returning to Chief. Spartan Locke is no longer involved. They aren't fragmenting the story, it is back to the Chief, and so to have a spin-off series too early could potentially divide the fan base and divide that mindshare that they have been fighting so hard to regain. I do think that in the next 3 to 4 years, that could be something that could be a good fit. So if they are doing something that is a first-person shooter, but it's taking a different approach than, say, Halo Infinite, then that kind of time frame could work. But you certainly don't want that to be happening too soon, in my opinion. Halo Wars 3, on the other hand, can pretty much come out whenever it would like, because that's a game that doesn't necessarily cater to the same fan base, because I'm not going to play a Halo Wars game I just never really did like Halo Wars personally. I'm not a big strategy kind of guy, but I do appreciate it. I know a ton of people out there that do love it, and so it should absolutely happen. I know Halo Wars 2 is very well received, but if you are doing some kind of spin-off FPS, it could be best to wait a couple of years. But if they're just looking for a producer, it very well could be a couple of years off. Enough about Microsoft, let's talk about Sony, because the PS5 is coming to China in Q2 of 2021. I will say ahead of time, I might massacre these names, so bear with me. Sony's Tatsuo Iguchi, president of SIE Shanghai, and Soida Takahito, the vice chairman, confirmed that the company's newest console will be coming during the Q2 timeframe this year, and this news comes from Daniel Ahmad on Twitter. The PlayStation 4 was not released in the region until nearly 2 years after its initial 2013 release, meaning that this is panning out to be a much faster process for Sony now. I also saw reports that the software approvals are still being waited for, so that could be what is holding back the process overall, but this is a very significant move for Sony because it's a very large portion of a player base. Getting that console into the hands of Chinese players means that more people are going to be able to dive into experiences that are able to be had on the PlayStation 5. It's important to note that censorship is still a very big thing in China. Some games will never see the light of day in that region, so the potential impact isn't going to be quite the same as if you had another United States, as if you had another European region. That is monumental, but there are a lot of players in China, and there are a lot of players that would absolutely go out and buy a PlayStation 5, so to see that it's coming sooner rather than later just gives PlayStation 5 more fuel on the fire to get those sales up and to continue pumping more and more consoles into the marketplace, because everybody around the world is eventually, seemingly, going to have access to these consoles if the production opportunities do continue to improve, and it seems that they are. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these Chinese sales are reported. I'm looking forward to sharing those figures with you all, but it's nice to see that it's not going to be a 2-year wait for Chinese players as it was with the PlayStation 4. Let's dive into a bit of drama, shall we? The Terraria Stadia port has been cancelled after the developer's Google frustrations have come out on Twitter. Terraria's developer, Andrew Spinks, has tweeted on Twitter that, quote, "My account has now been disabled for over 3 weeks. I still have no idea why, and after using every resource I have to get this resolved, you have done nothing but give me the runaround. I can take this no other way than you deciding to burn this bridge. Consider it burned. Terraria for Google Stadia is cancelled. I will not be involved with a corporation that values their customers and partners so little. Doing business with you is a liability," end quote. Very ferocious tweets here from Mr. Spinks, but Terraria is a very big game, and it's worth noting the mobile version of the game is still out now on the Google Play Store. So will that be pulled? I suppose we will have to wait and see what the reaction is from the company. But this is very, very telling because Terraria is a significant game, and it's one that a lot of people around the world do continue to play to this day. And to have that as an indie on the Google Stadia storefront would have been a huge boon, but ultimately it seems that is no longer going to be the case. I can't believe there is no kind of partner manager or any kind of development contact that could help why can't you work? Why? I don't understand. I'm trying to figure out the reason why that the developer of a very significant indie game can no longer gain access to his account. That makes no sense. On top of that, he also mentioned that he has lost thousands of dollars worth of apps on the Google Play service and the Gmail account that he's been using for over a decade. I've been using the same Google account for over a decade. Come on. This is part of your daily life. How can you not find a solution to a very significant member of your community's problem? But this is just another big thorn in the side of Google Stadia after a very rough month. We talked last week about how the giant tech industry's leading game streaming service is losing its internal development studios, which is essentially meaning there are no longer going to be big AAA games that are exclusive to Stadia coming at any point in the future. It's all going to be based on third-party partnerships. So we'll see how Google's future continues to evolve with Stadia now seeing another negative piece of news in the spotlight for the week. But for Microsoft fans, I have some good news. Forza Horizon 4 is coming to Steam in March. Last year, Forza Horizon 4 crossed the 2-year mark at the Horizon Festival in Britain, writes Jacob Norwood on the ForzaMotorsport.net blog. This year, we could not be more excited to celebrate another milestone on March 9th when the Forza Horizon 4 makes its debut on Steam. New players will join millions of drivers as they race together across historic Britain and experience the open-world adventure with their convoy via crossplay with Xbox, Windows 10 PCs, and cloud gaming with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate on Android mobile devices. By bringing Forza Horizon 4 to Steam, we are giving players another great choice of what to play and where they can play it, and with Steam Cloud Saves, their game can transfer between multiple PCs. Starting today, you can wishlist Forza Horizon 4 to be notified about the latest updates here. Forza Horizon 4 on Steam includes the following bundles. You have the Standard Edition, you have the Deluxe Edition, and the Ultimate Edition, which each include various packs and DLC expansions. But Playground Games has partnered with Sumo Nottingham to bring Forza Horizon 4 to Steam, and so you now have one of the best racing games ever created coming to the world's leading PC gaming platform. I adore Forza Horizon 4. In fact, since the launch of the Xbox Series X, it might be the game that I've spent the most time with, because those next-gen improvements really did make this game shine, and it's one that I have fallen in love with. It's such a fun grind. It really is just a great game. So if you're into racing games and you have not had the chance to dive in and check out Forza Horizon 4, please do yourself a favor and get in on the action. It really truly is one of the best racing games I've ever played, and I would say it might even crack my top 10 games in general. It's just truly a great time. But to round out today's show, we have Jamie Lee Curtis joining the Borderlands cast. She is going to play Tannis, an archaeologist on the planet of Pandora who could know the secret to unlocking the vault, and of course for those that have played Borderlands, you'll know there's a bit more to that backstory as well. But she's going to be playing alongside Cate Blanchett and Kevin Hart. Both have been confirmed to be joining the film adaptation of Gearbox's looter shooter first-person shooter series. I don't even know what to say anymore, because I never thought that the Borderlands movie would get number 1, Kevin Hart, number 2, Jamie Lee Curtis. But I tweeted earlier yesterday and I said something along the lines of, this is such a big budget movie to get Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Hart, and Cate Blanchett all together, and of course I'm sure more cast announcements are coming, and I still can't shake the feeling that this movie is going to absolutely bomb. I'm trying to be optimistic, I'm trying to be positive, but I just have this overwhelming feeling that Borderlands is just not cut out for the cinematic universe, and I hope that I'm wrong, as I do with every project that I have a bad feeling about, but it's such a strange fit to see Jamie Lee Curtis joining the Borderlands movie. I just don't know about this one. But I'm sure we will see more about it in the weeks and months ahead. No release date has been given, but Gearbox is starting to break more and more into film, and this is their first big foray, so we'll see how that goes as the production continues and more cast members are announced. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed today's show, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about everything we talked about here today, but specifically, what do you think about a digital E3 event for 2021? And on top of that, do you think that Anthem can make a comeback? Would love to hear what you have to say. But until tomorrow, you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.